What up, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. Hope everybody is having a lovely morning. It's Thursday. It's our last show of the week. Our last show of the week. Looking over on our Reddit, seeing what's going on. What up, Greg? What up, Ernie? Good to see you guys. And guys, start tweeting some articles out. And let me see if I can get... Some of you guys tweeted stuff yesterday, because yesterday we had Sarah Smith on, so we didn't get to any of the articles. Oh, here we go. Here's one from... Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and give the first article a retweet here. We'll officially start once we're up to 30. You guys know the drill. Hi, Pam. Hi, Susan. Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, Mike. Hi, Daniel. Daniel, send it again. What's up, Long Beach? What's up, Edwin? Edwin, send it again. I didn't get to see anything yesterday because we had Sarah on. Which, man, she crushed it, huh? Jeez. We've had some good guests. We really have. I consider myself fortunate in that regard, but she really crushed it, didn't she? Wow. I felt like... That was the easiest show I've ever done. I just kind of would ask a question that one of you guys came up with, and I would just sort of sit back and let her knock it out of the park. Man, I was not even necessary. I mean, I guess I was. I made it easier. I was literally just a professional middleman yesterday, which is okay, man. She crushed it. And I'll say this, too, before the show officially begins. I will say this. And, I hope you guys don't mind my my praise, but there are a lot of people that are scared to come on this show. And we are at 30, so let me hold that thought, and let's officially begin the show. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys tweet me articles or you post it in our Reddit subsection, and that's how we do the show. And guys, I have a question today that's a fun one. It's our last show of the week. Today's Thursday, last show this week. The podcast comes out tomorrow, and I'll be tweeting that out and Facebooking that out. The podcast can be found at getyournewsonwithron.libsyn.com. We're still not even in the iTunes directory yet. That takes a little while to get into when you're a brand new podcast. So we are 110% new. Just started. Last week's episode was our first episode. So next week will be our second episode. We should be up on iTunes and all the directories very, very soon. I'm still working out a few kinks on getting all that set up. But we'll be a normal podcast very soon. But in the meantime, please do check out the episodes. Let me know what you think. It's a very, very new podcast. So I'm curious to hear your guys' feedback. And yeah, still working with it. Celeste, the podcast comes out tomorrow. No stream tomorrow. From now on, our stream schedule is Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then Friday the podcast drops. So Sarah Smith was on the show yesterday, and as I was talking about before the show began, she knocked it out of the park. Man, she crushed it. She did really, really good. And I gotta say, and I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but the truth is, a lot of people running for office and people in office, more so people in office, are really scared to do this show. It's not even that big of a show, so I'm surprised, but apparently word got out. And a lot of people are scared to do this show, which I kind of wear as a badge of honor. That's part of the reason that Pasta kind of books the guests and I don't, because he's just such a genuinely sweet dude, and just like a big, like he's just full of so much life and energy, and he's such a people person that I just know we have a better chance at getting people when it's him and not me. Because I'll just be like, yeah, you want to do my show or not? If you're scared, whatever. But he's just so like, oh, come on, But a lot of people are scared to do this show, and I think it's because you guys don't take any crap. You guys are a no bullshit audience, and I appreciate that, and I celebrate it. And I think it's awesome. So, yeah, way to be awesome executive producers. And so my point is that she really knocked it out of the park. And I feel like if you knock it out of the park here, you're on to something good. You know? I mean, and it's not because of me. It's because of you, not me. I'm just the guy that kind of facilitates it all. You guys are the people that make it that way. If it was just me, nobody would be scared to come on this show. It's you guys. And, but that gets into my question today. So shortly after Sarah did Get Your News On with Ron with us, she went and she did Fox News. Now, rumor has it she crushed it on Fox News. That's what I've been seeing online. She knocked it out of the park. I'd like to think, if you guys remember, we did our Fox News practice session. Remember, I pretended to be a Fox News person, and she answered the questions. Maybe we helped. I'd like to think we helped. I'd like to think that was a good... I know that her husband preps her a lot. I know that she's had a lot of practice. I know she's been working hard and kicking ass and taking names. But hey, maybe the little last minute Get Your News On with Ron practice Fox News style, maybe it helped. I don't know. I'd like to think so. Maybe. So my question for today is, what is the most obvious policy, like the easiest policy that is really ready for just full, like that we can really translate into the heartland and translate into the right, where we can be like, look, this policy benefits everybody. Let's see through the divisive BS that gets thrown at us on a daily basis. Let's see through the left-right paradigms people always throw in, the labels people throw out, and let's really talk about this policy and why it's a good thing, and let's get people on board. What is the policy that is really ready for that? I'm going to go with so I'll answer first, and I'll give you guys time to answer in the chat here. I'm going to go with what I feel is the most obvious answer, and I'm sure some of you guys have the same answer as me, and that's okay. Single-payer healthcare / Medicare for all. Fox and Friends did a poll yesterday, or earlier this week. Maybe it wasn't yesterday. It might have been like a couple days ago on Twitter, where they brought up that Koch brothers funded study that said Medicare for all would cost about $32.6 trillion. However, what we're currently doing cost over $33 trillion. So even a Koch brothers study, which we did a story about that here on this show, even the Koch brothers basically admitted Medicare for all would save our country money. And everybody would have health insurance. So Fox News did a Twitter poll where they said Medicare for all would cost $32.6 trillion. Is it worth, do the benefits outweigh the costs? Now, what the Fox News Twitter poll didn't say was that this would save us money. They didn't add that part. They didn't say, by the way, we're already spending close to $34 trillion. They didn't say that part. They left that part out. That's like saying, hey, you have to have a car no matter what. This car costs $5,000. Is the benefit worth the cost? What they're neglecting to tell you is that your only other option costs $10,000. And the car that costs $5,000 is actually better. That's what they're not telling you. So that's what Fox News did. It was very deceptive and it was propaganda. You should expect no less from Fox News. However, despite that, the results of the poll, 73% said, yes, it's worth it. So even not telling people the fact, and maybe some of those people knew that anyway, but even with them not even including the fact that, oh, by the way, it's cheaper, still 73% of Fox News followers said it was worth it. So, tell me again how democratic socialism can't work in the heartland. Tell me again about that. Tell me it can't work in the Midwest, apparently. It can't work in the Midwest where in Wisconsin they are really trying to fire up their unions. It can't work in the Midwest where in Michigan Bernie Sanders crushed. It can't work in the Midwest where in Minnesota the voters overwhelmingly wanted Bernie Sanders and then Al Franken screwed them over. So I'm going with Medicare for all and single-payer healthcare. I think that people are so ready for it. I mean, 60% of adults favor it, and that was even before. And this study, which is a right-wing study, even they're coming to the conclusion, despite how hard they're trying to fudge the numbers, that Medicare for all saves money and is more efficient. I mean, that... So now you have the conservative argument for Medicare for all. It's a more efficient system, and it leads to healthier workers, which leads to more productivity. Even if you take the view of the most amoral capitalist, you're still coming to the conclusion that Medicare for all is the way to go. Like, I'm capitalist Magoo. I run this company. I have these workers. I don't give a hoot about their well-being. I don't care. I just care about my bottom line. Well, gee, with Medicare for all, I'm not footing the bill for their health care anymore, first of all. It doesn't fall on me, the employer, anymore. Second of all, it saves everybody money. Third of all, man, I really want my employees to be as productive as possible. Well, guess what? Now, they're not just going to the doctor when they have an emergency or when they're really sick. They're getting a checkup. They're focusing on preventative care. So I might have employee A who has a little heart condition. And because they didn't get it looked at, because they weren't getting checkups every year, they didn't do anything about it until they maybe had a heart attack or maybe had something really terrible happen to them. And then I lose them for 6 months or whatever, however long. Meanwhile, if they're going to the doctor every year, they catch this heart issue right away. It's a quick procedure that takes 10 minutes. They're in and out and they're fine. I don't lose any productivity. Putting aside all the moral issues there, just looking at it through the lens of evil capitalist Magoo, which is what I just did. I looked at it through the lens of evil capitalist Magoo. Even that perspective should just common sense-wise come to the conclusion that Medicare for all is better. Period. That's it. So my answer is Medicare for all. What are your guys' answers? Getting money out of politics. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good pick too. I think a lot of people are for that, and I think a lot of people are disenfranchised by the corruption. What you're going to get, though, is you're going to get a lot of spin messaging by Republicans and even libertarians that are going to, and establishment Democrats, of course, that's kind of going to make it out like it's a freedom issue. So I feel like that might be a little tougher. That's still a good one, though, and I do think a lot of people are sick of that. Chris says free higher tuition. I think that's a good pick, too. Absolutely. Dwayne says even Republican voters don't like going bankrupt over medical bills. Ending the foreign wars. Yeah, I think that's definitely something. You know something I would do, since we're on this topic? I was thinking about this the other day, and let me know if you guys think this is a cool idea or not. Like, if I was running for office, let's say, like, which I have no interest in doing, but if I was running for office, one of the things I would campaign on is drastically slashing the military budget and all the bomb money and the defense budget, because it's insane. We spend more than the next 13 countries combined, and we could reinvest that money and give everybody health care. We could have free college tuition. The numbers are there. We have the resources to do it. So I would really heavily campaign on that. However, here's what I would do, because you know that people are going to point their finger and say, well, you're not supporting the troops, you're not supporting the military. Here's how I would combat that. I would say, look, you're wrong, because even though we have this insane military budget, that money is not going to our sons and daughters on the ground. It's not going to them. In the Air Force, if you ruin a pair of boots, you got to pay for another pair of boots out of your own pocket. They don't even give people proper boots to work with. The money's not going to your loved ones that are over there or anywhere else. It's going to defense contractors. The people that are starting wars that are unnecessary, that are putting your sons and daughters into harm's way when it's not necessary. That's where that money goes. It goes to funding more wars. And it's a grift. So here's what I would do. I would slash that budget to make it more reasonable. And I would try to end our wars and invest that money back home. And here's what else I would do to make sure that budget that we do have is being allocated properly. I would appoint a task force consisting exclusively of current serving members and veterans. And that's it. Nobody else is allowed in. Nobody. No lobbyist, no politician that hasn't served. I myself wouldn't be in it. It would only be currently enlisted people and veterans. And they would determine that that budget is being used the right way. So if it's going straight to defense contractors and nobody else, they would have something to say about that. That would be something I'd plan. I would give the budgetary discretion and power to the people that are going over there fighting these unnecessary wars that are being put in harm's way when it's not necessary. I feel like that would be a good way to kind of like win over the whole like you're not patriotic or you're not supporting the troops. That's a way to just put that argument to rest. That's a way to just boom, slam that argument. Because then when somebody from the right says that to you and you put that back on them, be like, what are you doing to give the people on the ground more power? What are you doing about that? Would you support the same task force? You wouldn't? Which one of us doesn't support the troops then? Is it me or you? Sounds like you. Sounds like you. I'm the one who doesn't want to put them in harm's way when it's not necessary. I'm the one who wants them to have a say in how the budget that's supposedly meant for them is going to be spent. You don't. Which one of us supports the troops? Republican Magoo. Which one of us? You tell me. Anyway, I just think that's something that could really could work. I don't know. Let's see. Let me see if you guys brought up anyone. You guys brought up some good ones, though. Getting the money out of politics, ending the wars, Medicare for all. I think all those are ready for just across-the-board support. Because people are starting to see through the bullshit. They're starting to see through the propaganda. All right. Our first article today comes from Mike. And I already gave it a Get Your News On With Ron retweet. Healthcare lobbyists secretly secured Democrats' opposition to Medicare for All, internal documents show. Lovely. The 1st Congressional District of Hawaii is about as far from Washington, D.C.'s pitched political battles as you can get, not typically seen as a national bellwether. Yet the race for the congressional district, centered in southern Oahu, is one of several competitive elections that has attracted the attention of big money lobbyists. All right. So there's a healthcare leadership council, and what's going on with this? So one of the leading candidates has campaigned on a promise to crack down on overpriced pharmaceuticals and promote single-payer healthcare, but told the consultant dispatched by the Healthcare Leadership Council that he would maintain drug industry-friendly pricing policy and views Medicare for all with skepticism. The Healthcare Leadership Council has closely tracked what its lobbyists have described as the leftward movement within the Democratic Party. In Hawaii and other states, the lobby group wanted to know if ideas populated by Bernie Sanders, such as aggressive proposals to reduce the cost of pharmaceuticals and institute a single-payer healthcare system, were taking hold. The council, which spends over $5 million a year on industry advocacy and brings together chief executives of major health corporations, represents an array of health industries, including insurers, hospitals, drug makers, medical device manufacturers, pharmacies, health product distributors, and information technology companies. The group's focus on competitive open seats in the country is aimed at shaping the next generation of lawmakers' views on healthcare policy. So this is somebody, this is a group we need to look out for. The Healthcare Leadership Council. Don't let the name fool you. And all the candidates agreed to speak to them, and then they drew up dossiers on each candidate based on their answers. So this Chin guy is a moderate Democrat that has represented healthcare providers in med-mal lawsuits. Chin, the survey noted, supports the market concept and does not think a single-payer Medicare for all approach would work in Hawaii. So if you're in Hawaii, don't vote for this guy. Don't vote for him. But it looks like he's saying different things in public. But it looks like he's pretty much bought and sold by industry. So you can go to their dossier and see who they're buying off to go against Medicare for all. And in the case of this district in Hawaii, this Chin candidate is, Doug Chin. He's an industry insider. Do not vote for this guy. Don't vote for him. Thanks for sharing. And, despite how ready the country is, we are going to see opposition like this. We're going to see it. So thank you for that, Mike. This one's from Shauna. We'll go here next. Here's another article about the Democrats. It looks like we got a theme for this Thursday. Tom Steyer's $110 million plan to redefine the Democrats. Oh, boy. Tom Steyer plans to spend at least $110 million in 2018, making the billionaire investor the largest single source of campaign cash on the left, and placing him on a path to create a parallel party infrastructure with polling, analytics, and staffing capabilities that stand to shape and define the issues the party runs on in November. Steyer is building out an operation that's bigger than anyone's other than the Koch brothers, and the billionaire and his aides believe the reservoir of non-traditional voters he's already activated could become the overriding factor in House and other races in the country. Yet Steyer's oversized role also stands to position him squarely against Democratic Party leadership, which has shown little appetite for pursuing one of his signature causes, impeachment. Of course, because he's rich. He's rich. So that's his main cause. Trump's bad, and I know that Trump's bad, and that's a big deal because Trump's bad. So what else does this guy stand for? Steyer's putting his cash towards building out next-gen America and need to impeach. Okay, yeah, Trump's bad, and if we just get rid of Trump, all of our problems are solved. In just the past decade, Steyer has skyrocketed to become the Democratic Party's biggest donor, only to leave that behind to invest instead in his own organizations and causes. Well, what does Next Gen America points to? What are they about? Do they stand for anything? What are these non-traditional voters he's referring to? I don't see one policy in this entire article other than we got to impeach Trump. It sounds like this is more establishment nonsense. And it sounds like this is just some billionaire that's pretty much going to do the will of the plutocrats. All right, so here, this is this group. This is what this so it polled Republicans, and this is what the Republicans they polled said. 55% said they're extremely worried about weakness on immigration. 52% they're extremely worried Pelosi as speaker would push an extreme liberal agenda, quote unquote. These are the people that they're talking to. This is the guy that wants to reinvent the Democratic Party. These are the people he's talking to. The people that think Nancy Pelosi is a, quote, extreme liberal agenda. Nancy Pelosi's a conservative. So yeah, this just seems like more pro-industry, pro-business, pro-corporate America garbage. And this is why the Democratic Party is losing. But they got a lot of money to throw around. All right, thanks for sharing that. Looking forward to this guy's awesome investments. All right, we got a lot of stuff here. All right. Cappuccino Conservative shares something that looks like it's about one of my favorite topics, net neutrality. So let's go here. I just gave it a Get Your News On With Ron retweet. This is from The Nation. Why Democrats should embrace internet for all. Voters across the political spectrum believe internet access is a right. In 2017, the Tennessee state legislature passed a bill designed to expand internet access in rural areas. At first glance, this might have seemed like an amazing display of public service. In reality, this was just a dressed-up corporate handout. The bill provided $45 million in subsidies for Comcast and AT&T to provide rural internet access. Yeah, and that's another thing worth noting here. Whenever you hear a lot of establishment Democrats, Chuck Schumer did this recently, whenever you hear them say, you know, we really support rural broadband, what they're really saying is we support trying to do something about internet in places that the corporations don't want to go. And in this case, we're willing to give them money to go there. That's what that's code for. When you hear an establishment Democrat talk about rural broadband, that's what that's code for. That's not the same as what I'm fighting for, which is municipal internet in Pasadena, or a statewide initiative to get municipal broadband across the state, or broadband across the state. It's not the same as that. It's not the same as a strong net neutrality bill. It's not the same as that. When you hear rural broadband, that should be a red flag when the source is an establishment Democrat. When it's like a media rights group or a nonprofit advocacy organization like Electronic Frontier Foundation or Free Press or someone like that, then they actually are trying to bring better internet infrastructure into rural communities. But when it comes from an establishment Democrats, that's usually what this is code for. But what if the government decided that internet was a basic right and that profit motives didn't have to be a central part of the equation? A new generation of politicians is asking whether it's time for some new ideas, a public option for internet access, calling it internet for all. You know what that is? That is nationwide broadband, something Ro Khanna and I talked about, something I talked about with Sarah Smith yesterday, something virtually all progressives support. The lack of high-speed internet service is an underrated and serious problem in America. Not only does a significant part of the country lack such access, Internet for all could provide both access and competition. The idea is simple. Cities, countries, counties, and states could offer high-speed internet access in a way similar to how they provide other public utilities. This is what they do in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They have the best internet in the country. This is what I'm trying to get them to do in Pasadena, California. Abdul Al-Said is pitching this idea. This is what we've been fighting for. This is what I've been showing up to city halls for. And I think we got to start right in our own community, and then I think we got to expand it to the state level. I'm really trying to get Scott Wiener on this show to talk about this issue. Scott Wiener is the guy that wrote the California net neutrality bill, and he did a good job at it. He's also a guy that I don't agree with on a lot of other issues. We don't see eye to eye on some things. But this is an issue where we're on the same team, and I'm really trying to talk to him about this. I think he might be a good person to spearhead something like this in California. But he has not agreed to do the show yet. Maybe it's because we disagree on those other things. I don't know. But I really want to have this conversation with him and people like him. Nevertheless, the idea has garnered broad support across the political spectrum. Support for Internet for All groups exists. Now, here's something interesting. Implementing a public option for the internet isn't an absurdly daunting challenge either. The Electric Power Board in Chattanooga started building a fiber optics network for the city almost a decade ago. It was providing 1 Gbps service to 60,000 homes and 4,500 businesses by 2015 at only $70 per month. Wilson, North Carolina offers gigabit internet access as well as phone and cable services to its residents. I didn't even know about Wilson, North Carolina. You know who else does? Sandy, Oregon. Longmont, Colorado. Fort Collins, Colorado. So this is basically, we're talking about net neutrality and we're talking about municipal broadband. This is municipal broadband but across the country. So in other words, some Democratic policymakers are catching up to what we've been talking about on this show for a year. We've been talking about this stuff for a year. So it looks like it's time for me to go to another city council too. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Do my fellow producers here agree that Ron will only discuss California municipal? Look, he's probably busy. I'm not going to imply that he's blowing off the show on purpose. I have no idea. But I will say that we did make it clear that that was what we really wanted to talk about. we made it clear that like this is what we want to focus the interview on. We don't want to, and it's not that I'm afraid to talk about other stuff with him. I don't care that we disagree on some stuff, and I would talk to him about anything. I just want to have an episode really focus on this topic. This is what I want. So we said that's something we really want to focus on. And to me, that's more important than focusing on the stuff we don't disagree on. I have no idea if he golfs or not. Golf takes a lot of time, Ron. Give him a break. I have no idea if he's a golfer. No idea. I just want to have an episode dedicated to municipal broadband. And I think he'd be a good person to do it with. Because I really feel that when you see stuff like this going on, the time's ripe. The time is ripe. They're talking about internet for all. So what I really want to do is I want to rally some of the people that stand by it now, that stand by it early, and see if we can get something going, get something comprehensive. Marcus, thank you for your Super Chat contribution. What are your 3 most unpopular progressive ideas? If by I'm assuming you have unpopular in quotes. I'm assuming you mean like the stuff that is hardest to sell there. I would say universal basic income. I think a lot of people are kind of scared of that. And some people on the left are scared of it too because, and these are valid concerns, they're worried what it could do to, rentals and stuff like that, which is, it's a valid concern. I mean, it could cause them to jack up rent prices, and it would probably not stay in touch with the UBI people are getting. So there are some valid concerns. I'm still supportive of it. I support a UBI. I think that it would still be kind of a necessary social safety with the way our country's going. But I think that's a tough one, that there's still a lot of details that need to be worked out on. So I would say UBI is a tough one. And honestly, you know what? Since we're on the topic, I would say one of the unpopular ones, as much as it hurts me to say it, because you guys know where I stand, is municipal broadband. It's not easy or sexy to talk about net neutrality. It's just not. I do it all the time, and I do my best at it. But, it's not super easy. And I think a lot of people, they're just kind of used to, we just pay these horrible cable companies money for our internet, and why would we do anything other? And they're weary that their local governments or local municipals could give them quality internet, even though in every case study it's worked and worked well. So I think that's a tough one. But when you see articles like this one, which Cappuccino Conservative, thank you for sharing that. It gives me hope that maybe we're onto something with this. So I would say that's my second one: UBI, nationwide broadband, and what's a third one? Oh, this one's easy: gun control. Any type of common sense gun control. I think that's the other one. Just for obvious reasons. Let's see here. Balthazar, thank you for the super chat. The most successful policies are douche policies. Medicare for some, top ramen for college, 12-ish by 2040-ish. That's why HRC was the best candidate ever. That hints to Peter Douche, the Democratic strategist, who we got to have back on this show, by the way. Got to get Peter Douche back. It was a lot of fun when we had him the first time. Nancy Pelosi is extremely neoliberal, Balthazar reminds us. Platypus, thank you very much for your super chat contribution. Celeste, thank you very much for your super chat contribution. Consider a 90-minute show, Ron. I want to get there, you guys, but I can't get there yet. How can you help me get there? Patreon.com/Ron Placone. You know the drill. All right. Thank you guys for your chat contributions. And Cappuccino Conservative, thank you for that article. I am going to hold on to this article because I want to use this to go back to my city hall. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So this is the next chapter in the fight, I think. So thank you for sharing this. This is a really cool article. This is from CWalk. They have a disclaimer here. So here's what CWalk says. So I just need to be born a career politician and I can teach at USC with my 4-year degree as well? Question mark. Okay, interesting. What's this all about? I guess they're letting politicians teach over at USC. This is from the LA Times. So hopefully it lets us read it without us wanting us to give them money. All right. Donations from prominent LA politician roils USC, which referred case to federal prosecutors. When State Assemblyman Sebastian Ridley Thomas resigned suddenly in December, it marked an abrupt halt to a promising political career. The son of powerful Los Angeles County Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas had enjoyed the backing of his father's donors in the Democratic Party establishment. Ridley Thomas, 30, said at the time that unspecified health problems left him no choice. Okay, that's annoying as hell. Just pop-up after pop-up. Left him no choice but to step down. Okay. Within months, he was teaching at University of Southern California. The university, which sits in his father's district, hired him as a professor of social work and public policy. USC also gave Ridley Thomas, who lacked a graduate degree, a scholarship to pursue a master's program in social work. So basically, this is a guy with a powerful family that used those powerful ties to kind of give this guy an opportunity that he may or may not have deserved. That's kind of what this sounds like to me. You're letting a guy teach as a professor, he doesn't even have a master's degree. But you gave him a scholarship to go get it. The unusual arrangement has come under scrutiny in recent weeks. It should, as the scandal-plagued university attempts to adopt more transparency in its affairs. Administrators launched an investigation, and Sebastian Ridley Thomas was fired last month, said the sources, who spoke on the condition of anonymity. After the initial probe, USC approached the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles. The university told federal prosecutors it had concerns about a recent $100,000 donation from a campaign fund controlled by Mark Ridley Thomas. Oh, so here's some money. In exchange, I want you to hire my kid, and I want you to let him get his master's. The gift to USC's Suzanne Dwork Peck School of Social Work ended up in the account of a nonprofit group outside the university run by Sebastian Ridley Thomas. Mac Jenkins, head of the Public Corruption and Civil Rights section, confirmed that a lawyer for USC briefed him on the Ridley Thomas matter and referred it for criminal investigation. Now, his attorney, the Sebastian Ridley Thomas's attorney, said his USC admission was based on his own merits. Really? Based on his own merits? Like blatantly not having the minimum educational qualifications? You have to have a master's to be a professor, at least, or a PhD. I mean, that sort of goes without saying. Like that's just the merits of the job. Just like you need to have an apprenticeship to be a carpenter, you have to have so many hours in the shop to be a mechanic. If you want to be an academic, you have to have an academic background. You have to have experience in academia. Now, if you're doing hands-on practical courses, that's a little different. Then you can kind of recruit somebody from industry to teach a college-level thing, depending on what it is. But if you're going to be a professor of a certain discipline, you need to have the educational background. Because it's academia. I mean, like that's just how it is. Like that's ridiculous. He doesn't have the basic qualifications. They gave him the job anyway. Yeah, that's corrupt. That's straight up corruption. And you know, I love in our Sam Harris video some of the people that were on Sam Harris's side, or that were, I guess, pro Sam Harris. It wasn't necessarily sides because he didn't respond to me, but that were on the pro Sam Harris side. They made this argument that, well, he's an academic. Like as if having a couple pieces of paper automatically grants you something in the public sphere. Like if you have a PhD, you can just have whatever ridiculous analogies you want, and you get a pass and it has merit just because you have that piece of paper. That's bullshit. What isn't bullshit is the fact that, well, if you want to be a professor, you need to have that piece of paper because you are trying to be an academic in academia. You know, I mean, so again, I'm not trying to put a piece of paper on a pedestal. I'm really not. But what I'm saying is that to get a job where that is just an obvious requirement, if you don't have that obvious requirement and you were given it anyway, sounds like corruption. So I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that like a master's degree or a PhD. I know, believe me, I was in graduate school. There are some dumb people that have master's degrees. I promise you. Some of the smartest people I know dropped out of high school. Some of the dumbest people I know have master's degrees. And everything in between. I know some brilliant people that have masters and PhDs. I know some brilliant people that school was not for them. I know some really not so bright people that school was not for them. Again, I'm not trying to overgeneralize on one side or the other. I'm just saying a piece of paper doesn't mean everything. But, man, if you're going to be a professor, you got to have that piece of paper. Similarly to how other jobs require certain types of backgrounds. And if you don't have them, you don't get to have that job. I don't want a mechanic that just goes, yeah, I don't have any shop experience. I don't have any, but I draw really well. And I draw really nice pictures of cars. And they were like, shit, you should be a mechanic. I don't want that person being my mechanic. I don't want, I don't want an electrician that has no experience. Yeah, I had no apprenticeship, no background, no hours. I've put none of that stuff in. But, man, I just have a knack for electricity. My hair's standing straight up. Ooh, let me be your electrician. I don't know if I want to. Similarly, if you want to be a professor, yeah, you need that academic background. You're in academia. And academia can be very corrupt, as this article has shown us. And that, honestly, that's part of the reason I didn't go on. I had the opportunity to, either, oh, and guys, just so you know, here's what the LA Times gave us. Boom. They gave us a little, yeah, don't you want to get the LA Times? It's a really glorified coupon book. Guess what? I'm not interested in this newsletter. Boom. Not interested. What's the real reason I went back to the article? I didn't really want to show you guys that advertisement so bad. I needed to scratch my nose. That's what really happened. Full transparency here on Get Your News On with Ron. Seawalk, that was an interesting article. Thank you for sharing it. I like it. Celeste, Toto covers Weezer's hash pipe. Interesting. We got a little music news. All right. So tell you what, we'll end on this since it's something kind of fun and something light. And this is our last show of the week. So let me see if there's a real quick thing we can jump to before we go there. And then I'll go to the chat. I'll take some questions. And then that'll be the show. That'll be the show. We're almost out of time. All right, so we'll jump back to Celeste's thing. So next in line is Andrew. And Andrew, this is an article that you wrote yourself. I appreciate the full transparency, Andrew. It'd be lame if you didn't point out that you were the author and were just like, the author is like the greatest person ever. The person that wrote this article, they're a genius. And they're like the biggest genius ever in the history of geniuses being geniuses. And I don't know the person that wrote it, but they're a genius. And then we're like, whoa, dude, you wrote this. All right, so this is Andrew's article. Let's see what he's got. No, I'm just kidding. Oligarchy exposed, how to destroy Trumpism. Just impeach him, right? If we just impeach him, all of our problems are solved. I think it's fair to say America has lost its collective minds. Yep. I am not here to relive, relitigate, or rewrite history. What can be done to stop Trump? So the current game devised by mainstream Democratic strategists is to ignore policy and focus exclusively on Russia. Yep. Russia collusion, Russia collusion, Russian collusion. All right. What can be done? Well, that answer is painfully as simple as it can be. Focus 100% on the populist left policies that the nation is begging for. Yes! People want internet for all. People want single-payer healthcare. Even Fox News viewers are saying that Medicare for all is worth the cost, even when they're not even being told that it would save us money. It's cheaper. We continue to see an upsurge of progressive grassroots candidates like Ocasio-Cortez, Kenneth Mejia, Tamborine Borelli, which is a badass freaking name, Constance Goodell Newton, Ben Jealous. I'll add a few to those. Sarah Smith. Hopefully she sees a victory. Maria Estrada, who might pick off the single-payer slayer here in California. Go Maria! And here is a common-sense policy that Andrew just laid it out, Democratic establishment. Instead of having your bullshit better deal, instead of having your for the people slogan, which, by the way, they're for the people based on the Mitt Romney definition of what people are. Corporations are people, guys. Here's a policy. Medicare for all, ending wars of aggression, ending NSA spying, taxing the wealthy their fair share, a Green New Deal, tuition-free public colleges and universities, student loan forgiveness, strong environment protection, guaranteed basic income, abolishing ICE, ending the drug war, ending for-profit prisons, basic common-sense gun reform, net neutrality, and I would add to that nationwide broadband, ending government subsidies to multinational corporations, restoring DACA, immigration reform, path to citizenship, ending disastrous free trade agreements. How are we going to pay for all that, Ron? How are we going to pay for all that, Andrew? We spend more on our military than the next 13 countries combined. We got to slash that budget and reallocate how the existing budget is used. And then we invest that money back home. And we invest in jobs. And then they invest in the economy. And we make the rich pay their fair share of taxes. Boom. We can pay for it many times over. We're the richest country the face of the earth has ever seen. Good summary, Andrew. I dig it. I dig it a bunch. Good work. All right. So we can't play this song because of copyright issues, but we'll go ahead and look at the article anyway. It comes from Rolling Stone. And Celeste is talking about how Weezer's Hash Pipe is being covered by Toto. So let's see here. I think it might just be a video. Oh, here we go. So it looks like this was a fun. 2 months after Weezer gave in to fan demand by covering Africa, Toto returned the favor by tackling Hash Pipe. Aw, that's cool. We figured since we were smoking hash before they were born, that's the one we should do. Are they that much older than Weezer? I mean, Rivers is like, he's got to be in his 40s by now. Anyway, it's just the latest moment in Toto's improbable renaissance over the past couple years, fueled almost entirely by newfound love for the 1982 hit Africa. Yeah, and they've been... I actually saw Toto when they were with Ringo Starr, so I saw them do Africa. Yeah, that's cool. I like Weezer. Toto, I'm not super fluent in all of Toto's catalog, but they're fine. I got nothing against them. I'm down with Toto. Toto's A-okay. So that's cool. I kind of like that. I kind of like that camaraderie. We're going to exchange covers, Weezer and Toto. I got my favorites covers. We talked about that on the show once. That'll be a fun Music Monday question for the future. What are your favorite covers that have ever been done? Weezer's done a lot of weird covers too. Like they do like a jazzy version of Green Day's Brain Stew. I don't know if you ever heard it. I saw it once. But yeah, they do like a jazz version, or not jazz like totally, but like jazzier. Look, I'm using my jazz hands to describe the jazzy cover. Huh? Look at me go. Ah, all right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat to end the show today. So, all right. I got to all the super chats. Thank you very much for that. That's an awesome music story, Chris said. Thank you, Celeste. I agree. It's awesome. Academia is deeply corrupt, Andrew says. I agree. It's part of the reason I left, to be honest with you. Guys, one of these days, we only have a couple minutes left, but one of these days, if you guys would find it interesting, if you wouldn't, it's okay. You can tell me you wouldn't. But, man, I got some weird freaking academic stories that I would love to share with you guys. I've had some... One time we straight up had... I'm pretty sure the dude was a Scientologist. Infiltrate our department and say during an academic presentation that mental illness isn't real, basically. He basically, at an institution of higher learning with a decent psychology department, by the way, this dude got up there and he said, and me and my advisor, like my academic advisor who I did research with, and I got really lucky because he was the only other lefty in the department. It was really fate that we got paired together. I got real lucky, but and we're still friends to this day. But anyway, like, I was looking around and people were just taking notes on this, and I'm thinking, like, is this really happening? And I looked over at him, and he had this pissed off look on his face, and then we kind of made eye contact, and that eye contact was saying, this is absolutely fuck nuts, and we're the only other people that feel that way. We gotta stick together. Anyway, I'll get into that someday if you guys would find that interesting. Anyway, yeah. Let's see here. One last super chat just to make you look at it. Oh, I'm looking at it, Mr. Broken Eyes. Thank you very much. I am looking at that super chat, and I am thanking you for the super chat contribution. If we impeach Trump, doesn't that mean the next in office is Reefer Madness, Jeff Sessions, or any other of the crazy GOP? Likely, Mark. Yeah, likely. I mean, I know that... I think depending on what they would, quote, get him on, they could take out the entire administration. I don't know all the details. But, yeah, chances are, if they did impeach him, it would be kind of a political move. It would probably be a lesser offense, like just some kind of corrupt oligarch, whatever, and they would kind of build the bridges necessary to impeach the guy. And if they did that, we would likely just straight up get Pence. That's likely what I would think would happen. I don't think they would be able to get him on some type of treason where they'd be able to bring down the entire administration. So, yeah, the people that talk about impeachment, I think it's just a political game, and I think it's nonsense. And, again, if anything comes to the surface that changes that, I'm open to see it. But, you know, it's been 2 years now. It's been 2 years. Let's see. Karen wishes everybody a great weekend. Chris, I still think Ron should be a professor years and years from now. No thanks. No thanks. I'll take a pass. I had a chance. I first got interested in Ron because I heard you taught some classes at university. Really? That's what made you interested in me? You're the first person that's ever said that. Like, most people's like, I heard you on the Jimmy Dore show, or I heard you on TYT, or I heard your segment on TYT Net, whatever it may be. You're the first person that's ever like, I heard you taught at a community college. And I was like, this guy's a rock star. But thank you. I appreciate that. I enjoy teaching. You know, to be totally honest, you know, joking aside, I did enjoy it. It was a fun gig, but you know, I kind of decided that being a comedian is way cooler, and paid more. I made more as an anonymous road comic than I would have as a full-time adjunct teacher. Let that sink in, because that's messed up. Because I wasn't even where I'm at now. Like, I was an anonymous road comic, meaning I would just go to comedy clubs and bars and just do comedy there for a little bit of money and a hotel room. And I would do that all over the freaking country. I wasn't an attraction. I wasn't drawing. People would just come because it was comedy night, not because my name was Ron Placone. People didn't know who I was. I made more money doing that than I would have being a full-time adjunct teaching. How do I know? Because it was offered to me. They offered me a full-time schedule. And I looked at it and I was like, I like teaching, but I like being a comedian more than teaching. And this would actually be a pay cut for me. So I would be making less money doing something I enjoy less. So no, thank you. If it was a full-time salary with benefits, I might have considered it. But it wasn't. So anyway, yeah, let that sink in. That's a depressing way to end. Guys, I got to thank our sponsors. Thank you so much to our sponsors. BetterHelp.com. What do? They offer online therapy at an affordable price. You take a survey, you get matched up with a counselor, and you have access to that online counselor whenever you need it. Guys, we talk about mental illness a lot on this show. One thing I will say as an absolute, if you need help, please get it. Don't not get it. At an institution like BetterHelp.com, they offer an affordable option out there for people that may not have decent health insurance that covers it or may not have insurance at all. Please look into it. If you need help, please get it. And also ZT.com, their teas frickin' rule. Guys, you guys are amazing. I love you all very much. Persian Pro, thank you very much for the super chat contribution. And let me go ahead and scroll down so I can actually just keep it up, mate. Thank you very much. I will. Guys, you are awesome. This has been our week. The podcast drops tomorrow. Please follow me on Twitter at Ron Plagone so you can see that podcast. We're not even up on iTunes yet because we're still very new. We are less than 2 weeks old. But I'm getting us up on iTunes soon. The podcast drops tomorrow. RonPlagone.com for all the tour dates. November 2nd, Sacramento, California. November 3rd, San Francisco, California. That's with Graham Elwood. November 23rd, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, Patreon.com/Ron Plagone. Pay what you can level. You get all kinds of exclusive content and free show tickets when I come to your town. I love you all very much. You are awesome. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. I will see you guys on Monday.